I'm not a public speaker. I was a performer at one time. I was a silent performer. So my one goal today is for you not to walk out of here thinking he should have stayed a silent performer. What I'm here to actually talk to you about are the lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur, the lessons that have skyrocketed me right to the middle. I am 47 years old, and I have been working my way through this entertainment business jungle, I call it, with a rubber machete in my hand for more than half my life. When my father was my age, I thought he knew everything. I look at my son now, and I wonder if he realizes that I know nothing. As a business owner, I have to come up with answers on a daily basis for my employees, but I still feel like I know nothing. This whole thing has been sort of a chaotic sequence of evasive maneuvers to get my life and my business from one day to the next. But miraculously, it seems to have worked for the past 25 years since I've had an actual job. So I have made this career out of saying yes to doing things that I had no prior experience doing. So I'm consistently putting myself in the position of being a novice when others are looking at me like I am an expert. As a kid, I had a fascination with magic, but my focus ended up being on music. I became an excellent guitar player, but when I went to college, my college roommate was a magician. We got to this rhythm where we liked doing creative projects together. So we would look for them. We started designing T-shirts. We heard the theatrical shows on campus they needed graphic design work. So when the next show that we were working with said, "Could you design our posters?" I said yes. And I went and I borrowed some floppy disks of Photoshop, and I loaded it on my computer, and I was making posters. And then we had this play that asked us, they said, "We don't need graphic design work. What we need is a magic consultant." And then right before the play opens, the director comes up and says, "You guys, you should do your magic act during the intermission. You do a magic act, right?" So I looked at my roommate, Doug, and I looked back and I said, "Yes, we do." And a week later, I made a debut on stage as a magician, a quick decision which would actually guide the 10-plus years following my graduation from college. This is me in the blue, believe it or not. We traveled all over the world. We played in arenas, we played in theaters, TV shows, performed for royalty, celebrities, performed at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch twice, before we knew all that we know now. We were developing relationships along the way, and I didn't realize how pivotal those relationships would be in the future. So I need someone to help me, please, on stage. I'll wait. Stairs are over here. All right, coming to the light. What's your name?
Danielle.
Nice to meet you. Here, I have something I want you to hold. Here you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that's it. No, that's it. That's it.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Unless you step outside of your comfort zone, you don't find opportunities. I hope Ted is aware that I brought some Vegas here. I just bought some applause. So when 9/11 hit, aside from the obvious after effects, it had a profoundly negative effect on the entertainment business because people were not traveling and entertainment was not in high demand. So I made the hard decision that at the modest level of success we had achieved with our magic career, I was not going to achieve my life goals. So I had to make some changes. I decided that if I was producing shows, if I owned other things, I could have multiple projects running at once, as opposed to just being on one stage at a time. I was approached by a casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and they said they wanted a Broadway show. Could I do that? I said yes. And literally about a dozen phone calls, I had set up this deal, and I got a Broadway show there, and in the 3 months I had that show there, I made more money than I had made in the 3 years before as a performer. So then I got a call from my friend Tom, who's an executive at the Luxor Casino in Las Vegas. And Tom says, do you have any nightlife projects, any nightclubs? I said yes. I brought him a concept. What I did was I took one of our show concepts that had not worked, and I retooled it. I met with his team. They loved it. And they said, this is great. Can you raise money for it? I said yes. And I went and I started talking to all my entertainment colleagues. And one of them, his partner, I pitched to put $6 million into this nightclub. All right. I need someone else to help me on stage. I'll wait. Hey, what's your name?
Safwan.
Safwan?
Safwan.
All right. Oh. Not all opportunities are worth taking. That's it, sorry. So I think it's appropriate to say, pick your partners wisely. One of the most painful lessons I've learned is how to choose partners, my relationship with my partners. I like to classify partners into 4 categories. First, I have what I call the wise partner. Sorry. The wise partner understands your goals and tries to work with you towards a unified goal. We have what we call a wicked partner. So a wicked partner defines your goals different than their goals. And worse, they prioritize their goals over yours and the business. A simple partner is someone who doesn't know any better, but they think they do. We all know that guy. And then we have what I call the partner that doesn't even know to ask. And this is someone that just has no understanding of the big picture and someone who is dead weight in your project. Being a wise partner yourself is just as important as choosing wise partners. You are going to screw up. You are going to have full-on failures. But you need the types of relationships that will endure those failures, that will outlast a bad decision or 2 or 20. You need to have people with integrity. Intent matters. Dedication matters. Ethics matter. So in December 2007 was when I opened this nightclub. It was a bad economic time. It was right before the 2008 recession. And I was, again, a novice in a new business. But luckily, I had partnered with experts in the nightlife industry. But these were experts that had honed their craft during a boom time in the economy. I discovered they did not have the skills to manage a business that was difficult, to build a business from the ground up. I was dealing with simple partners. And worse, as will happen in the nightlife industry, they had agenda, lots of agenda. So they were wicked partners. There were no wise partners in this equation. This was doomed to fail. The one lesson I really learned there was that one flawed vision would have been much better than 5 separate visions being independently executed, whether they're good or not. While the nightclub was failing, I was continuing to work on my entertainment projects. And I was producing shows for Louis Prima Jr., who's the son of famous American band leader Louis Prima. And Louis came to me one day and said, I fired my manager. Will you manage me? So I didn't know what it meant to manage an artist, and I said yes. So again, though, this thing that I was passionate about, this quick decision turned into something that would guide years of my life. I went on to manage many artists, managed Grammy Award-winning artists whose revenue we increased by 48%, managed the writers and performers of some of the most iconic songs in American pop culture, and to this day, I still manage Louis. So management is an interesting business because it relies heavily on meshing personalities. So you've got the personalities of your artists, and we can all recognize that artists aren't always balanced, but you've also got the personalities of the people who work with you and for you, and they have to interact with those artists. And I made a critical error, which was I hired people and brought on partners because it was convenient, but they were partners that had their own agendas. And it became a very toxic environment. So toxic that we ended up taking all the cash we had on hand to buy out our partners and to terminate contracts on employees and just to clean up. It was an expensive lesson, but it brought calm to the business and ended up making us more profitable. So we did lose a lot of our clients in the process, a lot of entertainment clients. But what we did was we took the lessons we had learned in managing music artists and now applied that to the shows we had been producing. The business was growing. We did some shows that we knew we were going to lose money on. We were building up our resume, and it worked because now the casinos who normally charge you to use their venue, they were now paying us to bring in concerts. And other people who had money raised for their own shows were paying us to run their shows for them. So I believe that what you can bring to a project and what I bring is it's that gut instinct. What would you do in a situation that you couldn't teach someone else to do? I think it's what's the vibe you bring to this business? What is the inspiration you bring to those around you? It's this intangible X factor. I think it's much more important than your knowledge set. So I like to say, be what they are not. When you are meeting with a bunch of people in suits to invest in your idea, don't just be another suit. You can't outsuit them. Be yourself. You have to be unique. You know, when I work with musicians, it's the opposite. They look at me as a suit guy. Whereas when I work with casino executives, they look at me as this nonconformist that doesn't have to wear a tie and that doesn't have to follow the strict rules of their corporate environment. So it's good to bring your uniqueness to these situations and don't be afraid. Don't try to mix in. I also want to say, don't undervalue yourself. So when I was in magic, I learned an important lesson that I didn't understand at first. So we were up against another magician for a gig. This magician was charging $15,000. We, unemployed, were charging $3,000. And we didn't get the gig. And it's because the buyer could not conceive that the $3,000 act was the same quality as the $15,000 act. It was baffling to me at the time, but it's something that I've come to understand. And I'm trying to apply that in business. So if you fast forward, we got our company up to the point of doing about $5 million a year. We had a 6,000 square foot office, I think 600 square meters-ish. And we had a recording studio and a green screen and a photography studio, and things were moving along. A show came to us with quite a significant amount of investment behind it, and they wanted us to operate this show. So the company had not been set up properly yet, so we ran their operations through our business. Right there. I undervalued my own business. I prioritized their project over my company because now I was taking risk. They ended up folding. They didn't have enough money. And we got left holding the bag on hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I've always heard this expression, I'm sure everyone's heard it, about a business growing too big too fast. I did not know what that meant. For us, I thought it had been going very well. We were growing 100% year over year, and there had not been a problem. It was going excellent. But that was until there was a $300,000 misstep. A growing business doesn't have that kind of cash on hand. And then we had a Vegas issue, which is we had an investor that tried to take over one of our shows from us. Ethically, we could not stay with this investor, but the process of moving on was detrimental to our business. It was catastrophic for our business. And now we suddenly went from earning $5 million a year to owing $800,000. We had to close our offices. We had to release all of our employees, and we had to focus on trying to pay our debts. On top of all this, I accepted an invitation to go to Europe. And I was going to speak on the aspects of being an entrepreneur. So if you can imagine, at a time when this is all going on, the irony and audacity of standing before 1,300 people when you're standing beneath a mountain of debt and uncertainty. Well, so I believe that we are all far more alike than we are different. You know, a lot of TED Talks are based on these ideas that primates and humans are very similar, and we analyze how we can learn from that. I like to consider this is based on the idea that you and I are very similar, and that we are all extremely similar to those iconic success stories we're all looking up to the Steve Jobs, to Irving Azoff, to Frank Lloyd Wright. Like, we all have these abilities. We have these innate skills. I like to say that I'm drawn to infinite possibility. I like to consider myself a hopeless romantic. My wife would say I'm not. But I'm always looking for the positive outcome. I've said I've made it in my life at least a half dozen times. And I'll probably say more before I believe that I do. But, you know, I'm back on the horse. I'm climbing the mountain again. I have 2 shows running in Las Vegas right now. I have a new music artist we've discovered that I believe is going to be huge. I'm working with Luxembourg's own David Goldrake. I am redesigning my company from the ground up and working on what I think are revolutionary ticketing ideas and fundraising ideas. I'm trying to make a big difference in how I approach this the next time around. You never know what the next opportunity will bring you. I'm excited to apply what I have learned to what I'm working on now. I look forward to the future that awaits me and what awaits you. Thank you very much.